The night was cold. Even by Roman standards, a thin mist hovered above the river, drifting slowly across the dark water like a breath held too long. The Rubicon was not a large river. It was narrow, quiet, unremarkable. On any other night, it would have meant nothing. But tonight, it was a line. On one side stood Julius Caesar. On the other, the Roman Republic. For weeks, Rome had been holding its breath. Caesar was no longer just a general. He was a threat, a man too popular, too powerful, too successful for a republic built on a fragile balance of power. The Senate had issued its command. Caesar was to disband his army and return to Rome alone, as a private citizen. To obey meant humiliation. It meant facing trumped-up charges from his political enemies. It meant trial, political destruction, and the end of everything he had built. To refute treason, the law was crystal clear. A Roman general was forbidden to cross the border into Italy with an army. Anyone who did so was declaring war on the state itself. And so, Caesar stopped at the river's edge. Behind him, barely visible in the fog, waited his soldiers, the veterans of the Gallic Wars, hardened by years of conquest. Men who had followed him across forests, mountains, and blood-soaked fields. They were silent now. No banners flew, no horns sounded. Only the soft crackle of torches and the quiet murmur of the river. Ahead of them lay Italy. Rome. Power or death. The Republic had ruled for nearly 5 centuries. It had survived kings, invasions, and rebellions. But it had never faced a man quite like Julius Caesar. He had risen quickly, too quickly for many in the Roman elite. He had broken traditions, bent laws, and made powerful enemies at every single step. But he had also given Rome victories, wealth, and glory. The people adored him. The Senate feared him. Men like Pompey the Great, once Caesar's ally and son-in-law, now stood against him. Pompey had chosen the Senate. He had chosen order. He had chosen the illusion that the Republic could still control its most dangerous and ambitious general. They all believed Caesar would hesitate. They believed he would blink first. They believed wrong. Caesar stood alone at the river, his cloak shifting in the cold wind. The water reflected pale moonlight, rippling softly against the bank. It would have been easy to step back, easy to turn away, easy to obey the law and trust in the system. But Caesar knew Rome too well. He knew its politics were a viper's nest. He knew that the moment he laid down his command, his enemies would not show mercy. Trials would follow. Exile, perhaps even execution. His career, his legacy, would be erased by men who feared him more than they loved the Republic. This was not just about power anymore. It was about survival. The night stretched on. Time seemed too slow. The world narrowed to this single moment, on this single riverbank. History often imagines great decisions as loud, dramatic events. But this one was quiet. Profoundly quiet. There was no grand speech that echoed across the water. No divine sign that split the sky. There was only a man, a choice, and the immense weight of everything that had come before. Caesar looked back one last time. Behind him was Rome's law. Ahead was war. He stepped forward. His sandal touched the cold water. Ripples spread outward, breaking the river's still surface. It was a small movement, almost nothing. And yet, in that one instant, the Roman Republic began to die. According to the historian Suetonius, Caesar spoke as he crossed, uttering the famous words alia, iacta, ista, dii, is cast. There was no turning back now. The soldiers followed. One by one, the legion moved into the river, the light from their torches reflecting on steel armor and dark water. The fog seemed to part before them. The night no longer felt still. It felt alive, charged with an unstoppable momentum. This was no longer hesitation. It was motion where it would travel fast. By morning, Rome would know. Caesar had crossed the Rubicon. The unthinkable had happened. Civil war had begun. Pompey and the senators fled Rome in a panic. They had armies, but they lacked Caesar's speed, the unwavering loyalty of his legions, and his sheer, audacious daring. Across Italy, cities opened their gates to him, some out of fear, others out of hope for a new beginning. Caesar did not march like a foreign conqueror. He marched like a man who understood that Rome was already broken, that the Republic's old rules no longer matched its new reality. The war that followed would stretch across years and continents. Romans would fight Romans from Spain to Egypt. Fields would burn. Old alliances would shatter. The greatest names of the Republic would fall. Pompey would be defeated and ultimately assassinated. The Senate would be humbled. The Republic would never recover, but all of that came later. On this night, there was no empire yet. No dictatorship, no assassination on the floor of the Senate chamber. There was only a river and a choice. By dawn, the Rubicon lay behind Caesar. The water flowed on, indifferent, as it always had. But Rome itself had crossed a point of no return. Caesar would go on to win the war, but in doing so, the Republic would lose its soul. Years later, Rome would no longer be ruled by debate and tradition, but by emperors and armies. The age of the Republic would fade into memory, replaced by an empire forged in the fires of civil war. And it all began here. Not with a massive battle, not with a declaration shouted from the rooftops, but with a single step taken in silence on a cold winter night. This was the night Julius Caesar chose war, and before the sun even rose, the course of history was already changed forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories from history. See you next time.